FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is November 28th, day after Thanksgiving. Hope you all enjoyed. It was amazing. We just had the best time, me and my displaced friends down here in lovely South Florida. I provided the wine, they provided the food, which seems pretty fair to me. Well, if you don't know that there's a deep state, I got news for you. There is a deep state. What is that deep state? Well, the person you're about to hear from is going to explain that to you, but I want to know about your encounters with the deep state, your suspicions, your beliefs. Tell me about it. Email me, kl@kerrylutz.com. So this person, I know you've heard of her. I'm sure of it. She is a legend on YouTube and the web. She's been attacked by every social media platform trying to deperson her, but she won't allow it. The website is uncoverdc.com, and your name is Tracy Beanz with a Z. Tracy, we're so thrilled to have you on the show. Tell us, what exactly is the deep state?
Well, it's interesting because it's very easy to explain, actually, even though it is very complicated in terms of the web that it encompasses. And thanks for that great intro. That was nice. So the deep state is, I like to explain it as a bunch of, I guess you would call it dark power or dark money, ingrained bureaucrats and politicians who think that they know better what is best for you than you know what is best for yourself. So it's people that, like, you think of a James Comey or a Peter Strzok, who have decided that they think that they can make decisions for you and that you're not smart enough to go to the voting booth and do it yourself. So they've got their own agenda, and they really don't care about the Constitution, rule of law, et cetera, and they do what they want to do, and they are accountable to nobody because of that.
Interesting. And that pertains to a lot of people. There are probably, hundreds of thousands, if not several million of these deep staters. They're embedded throughout the government, throughout the media. The deep state could not function as it does right now without the complicity and the corruption of the media. Just tell us what you've seen, being a media person, firsthand about that.
It's actually one of the more terrifying things that I've experienced in doing this, because there's a loss of objective facts where, they'll literally just lie to you. Not even, propaganda or swaying the truth, just outright lies. And they're still informing a good majority of the American public. And because there's no accountability there, they're actually, in my opinion, complicit with all of what's going on right now. They're complicit and responsible for the division in the country. It's the fifth estate, so to speak, was supposed to be there to inform people so they can make informed decisions on who to put in their congressional seat, who to vote for president, and other things. And they're not giving it, proper information. Therefore, the American public is not informed or misinformed, which leads them to make improper decisions for the most part. So it's actually terrifying that an organization or a media enterprise that's supposed to be holding the state accountable does not. They're the opposite.
Yeah, and we see this every day. These people aren't journalists. They are literally arms or appendages of the deep state. They are propagandists. We watch CNN, God forbid, or MSNBC, even Fox News is involved in it. They're just not completely immersed. They've got some people who aren't, but they don't report news, which I guess is the opportunity for people like you and I, but also the danger there. I mean, they've had like a nonstop war against you.
Yes. And, you see it. Their highest rate, like let's take Fox, for example. The highest rated shows on Fox are with the hosts who are telling their viewers the truth, right? Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham. For the most part, those hosts are really bringing the true story of what's going on in this country right now to the American people. They've got the highest ratings across television. Then you take a look at CNN, and just the other day, Brian Stelter came out with a list of things that you need to be saying and doing to be a Trump loyalist. And it was a list of facts that he thinks are falsities. But, the reality of it is everything he listed was actually the truth. It was really something to see. I was like, wow, this is a step even for Stelter to take, but it has opened up again the avenue for independent media and new media to step in and deliver to the American people what they're looking for, which is unbiased information that is factual. And so that's why we're here.
Yeah, so true. Stelter, he's just a joke. He's a caricature of himself. How anyone takes this person seriously? Well, you see declining ratings for the deep state media. You see it all across the board, whether it's traditional mainstream media, non-cable, or cable. You see that they really are losing it.
They are. And, for Stelter to have a show named Reliable Sources is just the biggest oxymoron you could ever. I mean, you saw what happened to even Rachel Maddow's ratings after the Mueller investigation was over. She tanked. Nobody was listening to her anymore because they were lied to for years. And the worst thing that I'm seeing right now is that, as even the New York Times comes out and tries to spin the upcoming FISA report as nothing, and, they're admitting there are crimes committed there and that there's wrongdoing, but the left, the people who've been following this for years are saying, oh, big deal. So what? It's a low-level person. And I'm saying I don't see that they've afforded that same categorization to, say, George Papadopoulos when he was indicted by Mueller. You know what I mean? So it's like cognitive dissonance that they don't want to admit that, oh my gosh, these people were right. But that's not everybody. I'm seeing people, I sit on the board of the Walkaway Foundation. So every single day I see Democrats leaving that party and coming over, even if they don't come to the Republican side, understanding that President Trump has been telling the truth for years and there's actual results behind what he said, and that they've been lied to by members of their own party.
All right. So let's get current on what's happening now with the impeachment, the so-called impeachment inquiry, as the British would say. This thing has blown up in their faces. They've lost if they had any credibility left, it's gone because everybody sees this as a farce. How many people are taking it seriously at this point? I mean, they've really jumped the shark here, haven't they?
Yes, and we're seeing that actually from Democrats who are in solidly Democrat districts who are now saying, you know what, I don't see the point in impeaching President Trump. There's an election coming up. I think that we should vote to censure him, but we shouldn't, impeach him. And that's a far cry from what these people were all saying inside of these hearings, even Adam Schiff changing his mind. And, more to the point of, I don't think it's that they realize necessarily that it's unpopular. I think more behind it is the fact that they realize that Lindsey Graham and the Republicans are not going to back down on exposing what actually happened in Ukraine. And that is what terrifies them.
And this is a fascinating thing because we know Biden totally corrupt, totally deep state actor. He made $15 million since he stepped down as vice president just for being nice, sweet, little senile Uncle Joe. But it's all of them. They're all involved in the Ukraine. That's what's shocking to me is how did they find this country that really was always kind of irrelevant? It was always subsumed in Russia's shadow. They have a coup to install a so-called Western tilting leader. That freaks out the Soviets, and they then go and grab Crimea as a direct result of it. But there's all of these NGOs. Soros is knee deep in it. All of Nancy Pelosi's son, he's involved there. Heinz Ketchup Kerry, John Kerry's stepson, he's involved. And Hunter Biden, and God knows how many more. The corruption there that has streamed and spewed out of this more or less irrelevant country that has become a national security priority for the United States, which you have to ask yourself why. It's shocking to me, Tracy.
Yeah, it is. It's quite significant, actually. Ukraine is a cash cow. There is a lot of money to be made in Ukraine, whether it's from getting a piece of the aid packages that the United States is sending over there in terms of defense contracts, et cetera, or energy. And what I noticed is we just did a piece. Daniel Babinski's a writer on my site, did a piece yesterday about Adam Schiff's connections to Ukraine, and it's very interesting. He basically befriended a gentleman who made blimps that they turned into drones and cargo blimps, and made a lot of money on fundraising from this gentleman who made a lot of money off of contracts there. And in addition to that, everybody that you're seeing as a witness in the impeachment is actually someone who's been involved in this that needs cover. Mm-hmm. So every single person they've brought, outside of probably Sondland, but you see what they did to him.
Yeah.
Everybody that they have marched in there has been involved in malfeasance in Ukraine, and they have brought them in as witnesses in order to make it a faux pas to criticize them or dig into their background. Hence, you'll be called, witness intimidation, or however the media wants to spin, criticism of these folks.
Yeah, it's shocking. They're all involved. The Atlantic Foundation, or whatever its institute, Schiff has. I just read today. There's not just one, but two of his staffers are intimately tied up in this, and it's funded by Burisma. And the tentacles of the Ukraine, it's just shocking, and it's Clintonian. So we go back to Biden. There's no defense for his son serving on the Burisma board. That's the natural gas monopoly in the Ukraine run by an corrupt oligarch, and he's getting paid. Now we find out $83,000 a month, $1 million a year to provide them with cover. And then, so bringing it back to what we were talking about with Pelosi, she's kind of between a rock and a hard place. If she goes ahead with the impeachment, then they're going to have a trial in the Senate and everything can get exposed, although who knows in the Senate with all the deep state Republicans there. But it appears that for whatever, Lindsey Graham would be running the show, and he appears to, at this point, be on Trump's side, but who knows? He's not trustworthy. He's always been for open borders and unfettered immigration and amnesty for existing illegal aliens. So who knows what's going on? But if it does get there, and then there actually is a trial and there's some semblance of due process, everybody gets exposed in this, right?
Yes. And that's, the funniest thing is this turned around on them so poorly. They decided to do this Ukrainian hoax here because President Trump and his attorney and the State Department were getting close to uncovering all of the things that went on with the 2016 election and Joe Biden and Burisma. And Burisma is a controversy not just because Joe Biden was involved in it, but because of the fact that we're, as President Trump always says, we're sending billions of dollars over there, and they're completely corrupt in Ukraine. Is this guy going to really do what he says he's going to do? And he's going to get to the bottom of this because Ukraine caused a big problem for the United States of America in their presidential election. So the fact that the Democrats, in order to get out in front of that and flip it and do some sort of projection, scheme, actually ended up Streisand affecting themselves, if you know what that is, yeah. Where, Barbara Streisand said, don't come to my house, don't take pictures. And then all of a sudden, what happens? All the journalists are outside her house taking pictures because it's like, don't look over here, but we're going to look over here. And it was an epic failure.
Yeah, it was just so stupid. Now, everybody asks, why is Joe Biden running for president? Because he's too old. He's definitely got dementia or senility. Where are all the shrinks that say that Trump is crazy? I don't hear them saying anything about Pelosi's or Biden's mental state. But my feeling is he's running because for the exact reason that this impeachment came on, when you're running as a candidate and your opponent, who's the president, attacks you as being corrupt, then you can just say he's playing politics. It's not real. And it's been discredited. and nothing about Biden's corruption has been discredited. So I think that running for president, he thought, would give him some immunity from accountability for the whole Burisma and the whole corrupt Ukrainian situation.
I tend to agree with you, and it's really something that now we're saying, or the left is saying in this country. We want criminals to be running for office, because if we start saying we can't investigate anybody who's running for political office, we're going to have a bunch of criminals running for political office just so that they can get out of being investigated for their criminality. It's the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and they didn't have any problem investigating President Trump while he was running for office. That was fine, right? So it's this hypocritical nonsense that they do over and over again to try and shield themselves from guilt, where they'll say, it's a political targeting operation when that's what they've been guilty of.
Yeah.
And let's just see if Hillary Clinton throws her hat in the ring. And let's say, you know what I mean? So anybody now that runs for president can't be touched by the Justice Department. Crazy.
Yeah, it's madness. So what about Bloomberg here running for, or purportedly running for office? I don't know how serious he is about this. What do you think his motivation is for running?
He's actually confirmed he's definitely running. He's come out and announced. I think he's serious about it because I think that he feels that there is no way that any of these candidates can actually win. And I think he feels like he offers a more moderate vision for what it is to be a Democrat. However, he's not starting off on the right foot by ignoring the first 4 or 5 primary states before Super Tuesday. He's basically saying, New Hampshire, Iowa, none of you guys matter. I don't need you. I'm just going to spend millions and millions of dollars on TV ads, and then I'm going to waltz into the next primary and grab enough delegates to take the nomination. I don't think that that's going to fly.
Well, I've met Bloomberg a couple of times socially before he was mayor, and he was the nicest guy. He really was a nice guy, really treated his employees exceptionally well. None of the people who really worked for him had anything bad to say. And besides being a gun grabber and crazy liberal, he did maintain Giuliani's program for making the city safer, and he was big on infrastructure in New York. But it's so far gone that it would take a miracle worker to be able to maintain New York City's infrastructure. He really, besides the big gulp and all that, he had a lot of attributes that really appealed to people in both parties.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Today's show is brought to you by U.S. Gold Corp. U.S. Gold Corp is a U.S.-focused gold exploration and development company advancing high-potential projects in Wyoming and Nevada. U.S. Gold Corp has consolidated a district on Nevada's productive Cortex Trend and is advancing the Copper King project towards production in Wyoming, led by a team of prolific company builders and renowned explorers, including Dave Mathewson, who is directly responsible for several major Nevada gold discoveries. U.S. Gold Corp is well-capitalized and has an extremely tight share structure with less than 20 million shares outstanding and trades on the NASDAQ, a major exchange under the ticker symbol USAU. To learn more, go to usgoldcorp.gold. That's usgoldcorp.gold.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
He does, and I'll agree as a former New Yorker, he wasn't the most horrible mayor we've ever had there. But I will tell you that again, he's got one of the bigger news organizations in the world, and he's instructed the news organization they can't do any Apple research on him, they can't report on him or dig into anything in terms of his background, nor any other Democrat candidate. However, they are permitted to look into President Trump and report on that. So there's, I don't like that. I don't like that. How can you do that? That's very, very biased, very biased. At least then make it blanket across the board, no political coverage whatsoever.
Yeah. And you're no longer a news organization when you do that, because you're not treating people fairly. And what's the justification for it? So, but at least they're being open about it. CNN says they're not biased and they have no political axe to grind, and yet you look at what they do and everything is political and nothing is factual. So So when you're looking down the road here, where are we heading? Can Trump destroy the deep state, or at least marginalize them and contain them, or do they always get their way?
Well, look, it's all going to come down to what happens with Horowitz and Durham, and if this Justice Department is going to make a stand against, this sort of thing and hold people accountable for what happened during 2016 and beyond. And that's what it's all going to hinge on. I think for a lot of people on the conservative side, they really want to see accountability for the crimes committed during the last election. And if that doesn't happen, it's going to be a very sad day for this country.
Yeah, then
I'm just
hope.
Waiting to see what happens there. And hopefully we can all kind of cheer that justice is back and people get their penance.
Yeah, well, Barr was of the deep state. So is Horowitz. You think they've gotten religion and we're going to see accountability and justice? Like, I'm not real anxious to see people thrown in jail, but if that's what it takes to break up this cabal, then throw them all in jail. What I am anxious to see is the whole thing exposed. I don't know how you feel about Q or what, Great Awakening. I'm in favor of a Great Awakening where people wake up one day and see that this whole thing, they've been living in this fraudulent creation, an analog, matrix, whatever, and they kind of throw off their chains. I think that's the important thing more so than people going to jail.
I disagree with you on all of those points, but I'll explain why. And it's fine. I think we need to have it all exposed too. Absolutely, it needs to all come out. But Horowitz is actually not deep state. Everybody says that, and they don't understand the background of Horowitz. When Horowitz was IG under the Obama administration, he was investigating Fast and Furious. And Eric Holder stonewalled him at every turn, wouldn't let him have any information, wouldn't let him take a look at any of the documents he needed. So he was completely handcuffed in his job, and that was not acceptable to him. He spent almost 2 years in front of Congress trying to get a law passed that would make the IG a protected oversight organization. He fought the Obama administration tooth and nail for that.
Correct.
And he was successful at the end of the day.
Yeah,
so he was not a friend of the Obama administration. Like everyone says, well, Obama appointed him, but he didn't act as though he was an Obama acolyte. If you take a few minutes to read the Fast and Furious IG report, you'll understand exactly what I mean. Secondly, Barr, I did, it had to have been close to 80 hours of research on William Barr. And, for all of the criticism of how he handled the pardons during Iran-Contra and stuff like that, really all there is. Otherwise, there is nothing on that man's record other than, if you want to just blanket call every CIA agent ever to live deep state, then we can do that. Yeah. But other than the Iran-Contra pardons, which there's a case to be made for them, I did not find a thing that made me think that this man was deep state and we needed to watch out for him.
The one thing that and I tend to agree with you, about him, except that he was involved in the Inslaw case, where there is a trail of bodies as long as your arm, which has now been marginalized as a conspiracy theory. And this reporter has been killed and, attributed to suicide that is ridiculous that no one could ever think. Well, and Barr cleared
when you say involved, how do you mean?
Well, he basically was the AG and he pretty much, shut the whole thing down, investigation into Inslaw. They say that, the owner was paranoid or whatever, but it appears that his software, this was a whole thing going back 30 years, the scandal goes, and bodies, a list of bodies as long as your arm. But on the other hand, that was a long time ago, and I'm willing to cut him some slack. So I'm not saying that he is deep state, but we'll know for sure if justice is done here, right? If it isn't, then we'll know.
We certainly will.
So
yes, absolutely, we certainly will. There will be no doubt. If there's another let's pass on indicting Jim Comey for a more serious infraction than the case that was referred to him originally, I would definitely be outside of the Justice Department with the pitchfork in my hand for as long as it took to make a point.
I hope that isn't going to happen. Yeah. I really do. And my tendencies are, even if he is of the deep state, I think he broke with it. I think there are people that get involved in this stuff, and then one day they look in the mirror and they can't look anymore, and they have to do what's right. And I hope there's a lot more of them out there than we really suspect. I feel that there probably are, because when you're like living lies and deceit and everything else, the human spirit, if you're not a sociopath, then you can't live with yourself. It's really hard to do. And let's hope that that these people are, hey, nothing would make me happier than to see the whole lot of them indicted. Don't get me wrong, but I don't see that as the important thing. I see the important thing is the people really become aware of what their government has been all about, and the fact that the intelligence agencies are just like scams. They just, like, when you go out, I can't tell you how I know this, but if you go to an American embassy and you need to confront a business that hasn't honored its obligation with you, they will put you in touch with a freelancing CIA agent who will then go there and threaten the people to get you paid back. And I didn't know, like, the CIA had any, this was their purpose, but that's what it's devolved down to, Tracy. I mean, it's so corrupt.
Wow.
You can't even imagine. Yeah. And if you're,
the intelligence agencies certainly are. There are, again, I just did an interview the other day with a former FBI contractor named Nathan Kane, who was a whistleblower, a real whistleblower, not the Charlie whistleblower that we're or leaker that we're accustomed to, but
Charlie CIA.
He leaked information about records that he found in regards to Hillary Clinton and Uranium One, and there were a lot of people involved, and there are a lot of good people on the inside that are doing what they can to fix this. I know that for a fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do believe there are white hats out there. Hey, so coming up, next 90 days, if you will, if you could look into your crystal ball, what do you think is going to happen here with the whole Trump thing?
What, the impeachment?
Yeah.
I don't, at this point in time, I said it yesterday, unless they come up and manufacture some new witness or new evidence, manufacture it, I don't see them moving forward with it. I'm actually thinking that they won't even vote on articles of impeachment. I don't think that they'll go to the Senate. They may. If they do, it'll be their worst nightmare, because we've got 5 senators running for political office on the Democrat side right now that will be forced to sit in those hearings. And if they don't sit in the hearings, they're telling their base that it's not important. If they do sit in the hearings, they are not able to campaign. Yeah. So it's going to be a real problem for the Democrat Party moving forward if they do move to the Senate. So for a number of reasons, I think that they're rethinking that.
And if they don't move for impeachment and they just go for censure or something, which is meaningless, but if they don't go for impeachment, they've whipped up this frenzy among the base of the Democratic Party who really don't know what's going on anyway. And you're going to have a lot of disappointed people. And then the candidates who've all been, running on a platform to impeach Trump, they're just left out to dry. What are they going to do now?
It was a really stupid move, really, really dumb move to do this.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's good to know that the Republican Party is no longer the only party of stupid, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, so the website again is uncoverdc.com, and that's where you find Tracy's work. Really appreciate you coming on. What's your Twitter feed, Tracy?
It's at Tracy Beanz with the Z, like you said in the beginning, TracyBeanz, and you can find Uncover DC on Twitter at Uncover DC. All
right, excellent. Hey, what do you think about the deep state out there? Are you worried about it? Do you think Trump can possibly emerge victorious from in a battle where the odds are so far against him? We'd love to know your opinion, so please email us, kl@kerrylutz.com. Use the Twitter feed at Kerry Lutz. Facebook page, Financial Survival Network. Visit our site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Sign up for our newsletter. Tracy, been a total pleasure. I look forward to having you back many times. Good luck on your fight.
Thank you so much.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.